Baseball fans, you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Welcome into On Deck. I'm Tyler Redmond. As always, thank you so much for watching. And today, I'm so happy to say that we are joined with Glenn Hubbard. Good to be with you, sir.
Good to be here.
Thank you for being here. And before we get into this, I do want to say that we're here at the Darrell Cheney United Way Golf Tournament. Glenn, this is your first year here, and so glad you were able to make it.
Well, I'm glad too. Darrell's been sending me an invitation for, well, the whole time this thing's been going on, 20 years probably. And I kept telling him, listen, I'm still working, but one day I'm going to retire. So if you keep sending them, I'm going to say yes. And so this last October, I retired after 48 years in baseball, and I called him up and says, I'm coming. And
well,
had a great time today.
Well, good. I'm so glad you're able to make it one more time. And let's talk about it. You just retired. Congratulations, by the way. You spent some years with Kansas City Royals, before that, of course, with the Braves and coaching. But I think you've kind of made it all around baseball at this point, in a way. If you want to sum up your coaching career for a second, I'd really appreciate it.
Coaching career, well, I played from 17 years old to 32. And then after with the A's in '89, I retired from baseball as far as playing. And then the Braves, I saw Rod Gilbreth, which I called him and thanked him for the job. I was at a Little League game. He comes up to me and says, hey, you ready to go back to work? And I said, I was ready yesterday. What do you got? And he said, well, we might have a scouting job. And I said, I don't know if I want to scout. He said, you got anything on the field? I said, let me see. So I came back the next day, and he said, called me back and says, hey, we just signed a young shortstop, but you're going to have to go down to Bradenton. You have to stay down there and work with him. And it was Chipper. And so he was my first real coaching job, and had a great time with him. And what a player. What a player.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, if I'm honest, he was the player when I was growing up. I mean, he was, the guy. I mean, what kind of, presence was he to be around and to coach?
Well, great. I mean, being around that, it starts from Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
When I got a chance to be in the big leagues as a coach, it's around Bobby. And in the locker room, it was, John Rocker got in trouble for saying it was like a doctor's office. But that's what it was about. It was all about business. We had fun in there, but those guys, Smoltz, Glavine, Maddox, Chipper, it was like, okay, let's win. Don't get too excited about winning. And then let's get in the playoffs, and 14 straight championships. And so it radiated from Bobby. And take it above that, it came down from John Sherholtz.
Absolutely.
And it goes all the way from the top, and then goes down to the bottom. And even your young coaches, they wanted to work hard because we wanted to be championship baseball, and so I loved it.
Well, you mentioned the 14 straight. Leo Mazzoni is here at this tournament as well. I've had a chance to sit down with Leo a few times, and he really credits that 14 straight. He says it'll never happen again. I was wondering what your thoughts were on just how big of an accomplishment 14 straight division championships is.
Well, it ranks right up there with UCLA winning all in basketball championships in a row. I don't think it can happen again. It might. Mm-hmm. You never say never, because records are made to be broken. But I'll tell you what, it's tough to do. I congratulate the Georgia Bulldogs.
Mm-hmm.
I played with two guys that were Bulldog fans today, and I'll tell you what, back-to-back championships, unbelievable.
It's tough.
Unbelievable to do back-to-back. I don't care what sport you're in, and we did 14 straight championships, and so I'm hoping that the Braves can right now keep going
and make a push for it,
and
right?
Make a push for it. It'd be great. It'd be great to watch. I'm happy. I coached with Brian Snicker in the minor leagues and down in Macon, Georgia, down where Chipper was, and he was a good manager down there. And I tell you what, the players like him. He keeps the clubhouse good. He trusts the players. He never puts it on the players when something bad happens. It's always, well, the ball took a bad hopper. You know what? We'll get him next time. And he's that type manager, and I'm proud for him.
Well, you mentioned Bobby Cox, and to me, Brian Snicker is one of the closest things you can get to an old school manager in this day of baseball, and I think it's a good thing.
That's right, and Although old school, they only bunted one time last year. The game's changed. Yeah. One sacrifice bunt the whole year, and that's unbelievable to do that. But and yet, it's championship baseball. There was teams that we had to, with Bobby, we had to get guys over. We had to do the little game. And then there was other teams. One year we had 6 guys hit 20 or more home runs, and with that pitching staff, we were just killing people.
Absolutely.
It was fun.
Well,
it was fun.
Well, you mentioned the game's changed, and I don't think it's changed in a bigger way before this than this year. I mean, you got the shift rule, you have the throw-over rule, and of course the extra runner rule, and the elimination of the shift, the bigger bases. There's been a lot of change. I was just wondering what your thoughts were on and especially the pitch clock, I'd say.
Well, the pitch clock in the minor leagues was great because it sped up the game 45 minutes. I mean, it really helped. And putting a runner on base in the minor leagues really shortened the games too. Mm-hmm. We didn't have to just abuse some pitchers. So you need to take care of the arms at the younger level, so it was really good. I don't agree with throw over twice. Come on.
I agree with that too.
I mean, you ought to be able to control the game. But again, they're trying to speed the game up. And I don't know if that, you speed it up seconds. The big thing is 3-minute commercials per half inning. That's six minutes times 9, 54. That's an hour. Mm-hmm. But are you going to stop that? No, because that pays for that product on the field. So they're just trying to pick the game, slow it up a little or quicken it up a little. And but I don't know, bigger bases. I mean, it looks like a supersized pizza box.
Well, we'll of course, keep watching to see how the game continue to adjust and evolve. But I want to throw it back to your actual baseball career, not just coaching, but your time on the field. And I was with you guys, with you, Bruce Benedict, and Dale Murphy, listening to you speak about again how much the game has changed. And Murphy said that comparing you and Ozzie Albies would be irrelevant because it's such a different position now.
Yeah, it's more of a hitting position, and I wasn't a great hitter in the major leagues, but I was a pretty good defensive guy, and so it was pitching and defense. And really, to this day, you look at the teams that finish in the playoffs and are in the playoffs, and they've got this. If you got pitching and you can catch the ball, you got a chance to win.
Absolutely.
So it really hasn't changed in that way. It really hasn't. Mm-hmm. But I love the game. Well, I mean, they had one bunt base hit, one sacrifice. One year I had 20 bunt sacrifices. 20.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And so, it's changed that way. But it's all right. Baseball's good. I mean, the Braves keep on producing good quality players, and they keep pushing them through the minor leagues, which is great.
Yeah,
it's great for the fans.
Absolutely. One of the ways second base has changed is the no contact these days. And well, I've always heard the story about, is it Dave Parker that was looking to get your number?
He tried to take me out his whole career. Then I played with him in Oakland. And he came by my locker and he roll blocked me in my locker and got me. He said, I finally got you. But they used to be able to roll block you. Mm-hmm. Now you just slide in straight. The reason they made that rule, because of what,
is it Chase Utley?
Chase Utley.
Yeah.
But he slid right on top of the bag.
Mm-hmm.
He should have been, you have to, all you have to do is slide in front of the bag. I don't care if you go way out to try to get me. Mm-hmm. As long as you slide early. Slide late, you break my leg, and that's what happened. Mm-hmm. And he slid late. Yep. Roy Halladay slid late on somebody and messed him up. So it's really not going out of your way to get the guy. It was just he slid late to get the guy, and he hurt his leg. But they used to kill you. And at the plate, too.
Yeah.
Catchers used to block that plate.
Buster Posey is what I always turn to and say that's what changed the game, was that play.
It is, but he was just doing what he's supposed to do, and the runner thought he was going to be out, so he crushed him.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just the way the game was. I mean, I don't know how many times I got thrown at I remember Murphy and Chambliss hit back-to-back dingers against Pittsburgh. Jim Bibby, he's like 6'8", out on the mound, and I'm up next, over my head. Wait a minute, I haven't got a hit in a week. You're trying to knock me down? I mean, that's just the way it was, you know, and so, and I enjoyed it. I didn't think anything about it, and I just knew that's the way it was, and it's changed a little. I mean, you throw a hitter a little in here,
and hands are raised. Yep.
Wait a minute, I have to pitch inside to try to get you out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and this is coming from a guy in spring training. Canseco went deep. McGuire went deep. Don Baylor went off the wall. Hubbard's up next. I got hit in the face with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, fractured my face. I could still see, which I was happy about. But, you know, he wasn't trying to hit me intentionally, but he was trying to pitch in. He was mad because he was trying to make a team, this kid. But that's just the way it was.
Well, and there's a game that I can remember that I've seen clips of. Of course, it's before my time, but San Diego Padres, I think 1985. If you could just give me your recollection of that game.
Well, Pascual Perez hit Alan Wiggins' first pitch of the game. I don't know. Why would it be intentional at first? You know, maybe they had something going. I don't remember. Mm-hmm. All I know is and then they tried to hit Pascual. And Pascual's as skinny as that thing there. And so they didn't, and then they finally hit him, and then we hit somebody back, and we were just fighting the whole game. And it was like, I hurt my shoulder in that game because Donnie Moore hit Craig Nettles. They went at it, and then it broke up. And then Craig Nettles was over here, and Donnie Moore was over here, and I saw him running. Perfect form tackle. I was taught good in high school. Head in front, boom. Blew my shoulder out, and I hurt my shoulder in that fight. But it was, I mean, it was a fight. Fans jumped out of the stands in Atlanta.
I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again.
They were pulling, who was it, Champ Summers? They pulled his hair. He had long hair. Fans were grabbing it and throwing beer on him, and it was quite a.
Well, what did you think when you saw Bob Horner come down with the cast on?
Yeah, I'm like, what are you doing on the field, Horns? Hurt your other hand, you know? But that's when they used to call him Captain Horns. Captain Bob, incredible talent, right from college to the big leagues. And, you know, pitchers thought he'd stand up there like this, and they think they throw there.
Bob Horner, 4 homers in a game.
4 home runs in a game.
Yep.
4 home runs in a game. Come on. That's a stat that may never happen again.
Yeah.
It may, but.
Absolutely. I mean, a great talent. Of course, he later went to play in Japan. Now, the early start of your career, you played under Bobby, but you also played under Joe Torre.
Yeah.
In 1982, I believe, is when it started, after Bobby. You guys started 13-0.
Unbelievable.
I mean, I don't know the last time that happened. The Rays.
We were terrible the year before, okay?
It was really the start of something new. You guys, of course, later went on to win the division for the first time in I think quite a long time, especially in Atlanta. The Rays right now are on a really good start. I believe they were 9-0. They very well, yeah, they're 9-0 currently. You know, I mean, but to do 13, I mean, the fan reception you guys got when you got back to Atlanta.
It was unbelievable. We got off the plane and fans at the airport. And we'd never seen that. But you know, it started in spring training. Joe Torre was trying to instill winning. And I think we had the best record in the league.
Grapefruit League.
In the league down there that year. And it just, then we started winning. We started getting confidence, and, you know, we felt like we could win. And then in the middle of the year, we lost like 19 to 21. I mean, it was, and I can remember the paper saying, it's over. And then at the end of the year, we had to go on a road trip, and we had to win, I think, 9 of 10 or something. And we did. Phil Necro pitched to Jim, hit a home run in the game. We won, and we had to sit in the clubhouse, and Terry Forster throws a hanging slider to Joe Morgan. He hits a home run, and we end up winning the league. But it was great. Joe Torre was good. We had a first place and 2 second places with him, and then they ran him out of town.
Well, what would you say? I mean, you're talking about 2 Hall of Fame managers in Bobby Cox and Joe Torre, and obviously both great in their own ways. But what would you say are some of the similarities between them two, and obviously some of the differences?
Well, you got to throw another guy in there. I played for Tony La Russa too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So 3 Hall of Fame managers. I've been blessed. I got 3 World Series ring. 3 Hall of Fame managers I played with, which I used each of their. Bobby Cox never panicked. I remember one year we went on the road. We got beat by the Cincinnati Reds. It was like 14-2. Made about 5 errors. And I'm going, yeah. And he comes up to me, what's wrong? I said, Bobby, we didn't score any runs. Our pitching was terrible. We couldn't catch the ball. He said, we'll be all right, hubby. We won by 10 games that year. So he never panicked. Joe Torre and that group just let you play. He let you play. La Russa was more strategic. I mean, he always says, be ready to play the first 3 hard. The next 3 innings, just go by, and then you push the last 3.
Mm-hmm.
And he was more creative as an offensive manager. If he got behind early, he'd push. If he was facing a guy that was going to get a lot of ground balls, and you got men on base, he'd hit and run. Because you're going to hit a ground ball, let's move the guys. Mm-hmm. And he was really creative that way. And I mean, that was a really good staff. With Dave Duncan was over there, Renee Latchman was over there, Dave McKay. I mean, it was a really good coaching staff. Plus, look at all the players.
Yeah.
McGuire, Gallego, Weiss, myself, Carney Lansford, Steinbach, Dave Henderson, Ricky Henderson, Dave Parker. I mean, and that's not even the pitching.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fun.
Well, your time in Oakland, and we talked about this before, but you know the famous Kirk Gibson homer.
Oh.
I'm sorry to bring it up, but I would just love to hear your recollection of that.
Well, we had game in hand, and we had the Eck on the mound. I mean, he's lights out. This guy's as many relievers as I played behind. He was lights out that year. And Gibson, he couldn't even walk to the plate. He had 2 bad hamstrings, and he gets up there. You couldn't have scripted it better. He hit that thing, and oh no, that's gone. He come by me like this, and I wanted to kick his feet out from under him. But you know, it's just one of those things. And you know what? Eck always says, being in that position, you got to right back out there tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't dwell on it. And he was that kind of guy. He was a great reliever. He really was.
I want to talk about a couple of your other teammates, if you don't mind. I'm going to start with one from the Oakland A's, Ricky Henderson. I just would like to know if you had a Ricky Henderson story.
Don't really have a story, but just phenomenal leadoff hitter.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a guy they talk about. Leadoff hitters supposed to take pitches and whatever. I mean, he leads the league in first pitch home runs, I think. I mean, as a leadoff hitter, and instant speed. You couldn't stop him. I mean, he was just, as soon as he took his first step, he was full blast, and just a great base runner. I mean, not only was he fast, I've seen fast guys, he knew how to steal bases. He knew how to pick up things on pitchers. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of guys that are fast, but they really don't know how to steal bases. And he was special too.
I'll bring up another one. This is a little bit more close to home with the Braves. Phil Niekro.
Loved him. Loved playing behind him. I give Bruce Benedict props for having to catch that thing. Because Joe Niekro, his brother, he would throw a ball and it would more or less kind of break away from a right-hander. Mm-hmm. Nuxie's knuckleball broke everywhere. And Benny had to have a glove. It was about like that, you know, and it was just like catching a butterfly. I think it's going over here and catch it. So I gave him props because now you get a guy on first, and now I got to try to catch it and throw that guy out at second. But Nuxie was a competitor, man. He not only was a pitcher, you needed him to get a guy over, hit and run. Like I said, he hit a home run to win that last game on the road to win the championship. And so he was a real competitor. I loved playing behind him. I'm proud that I got the chance to play behind him.
Absolutely. Dale Murphy.
Everything you read about him is absolutely true. Sometimes I read things in the paper and I'm thinking, I don't know if that's true. You know, everything. Just a gem of a human being, great guy on and off the field. I remember we were going through the losing streak, and I think I told this at the hot stove. And Joe Torre told everybody, go out and get hammered. And so, I don't know if Murphy remembers, but we were in Montreal, and we went out and we had milk. We were both drinking milk, getting hammered on milk. But just a super guy.
Absolutely.
Great player.
There's one other guy I want to bring up, and he's a good friend of mine, and I know you guys were very close back in the day. That's Levi Walker, otherwise known as Chief Nakahoma.
Last time I saw him, well, I went and visited him. He's in Gainesville in the hospital or in a home. We were hog hunting. We went on a wild boar hunt. And they had dogs, so we knew the dogs were after the hogs, and we knew the hogs were over there. And I look over here, and Levi's sneaking through the woods with a bow. I'm like, Levi, you're not going to get a hog like that. But I loved him. He's a part of the Braves. He's a part of the Atlanta Braves nation. You know, they always talk about Braves nation. He was a part of that Braves nation, and a big part of it early on. You know, I love the guy.
Absolutely, I do too. And I've always heard the story. He tells it. I was going to ask you if you knew if it was true. He always told a story about racing Ralph Garr. Now I know, a while back, but he always told that he beat him by 3 foot. If you could just attest to the speed.
He could run. Okay, he could run, but I never saw the race. They used to call Ralph Garr the road runner, so he'd have to run pretty quick to Ralph Garr. What a great guy there.
Yeah.
I mean, what a great guy. But if he beat him, after he danced around the mound, he'd take off to the bullpen. And I remember Rick Camp doing a form tackle on him out there, and he knocked him down. But there's so many stories about him. I mean, he was a great guy, and what he did. I remember, do you know what happened? The year we won 13-0, so we started getting a lot more fans in the stands.
The TP.
They took the TP out because they wanted more money for the gate. That was like, I don't know how many seats, 100 and something seats. We started losing. They put it back up. We won the championship, so, I don't know.
You brought him up, and I wasn't going to ask this, but you brought up Rick Camp. And another one of my favorite, retro Braves clips is that Rick Camp game in 1985, July 4th.
July 4th. I got taken out in that game in the 9th inning, so I watched that game from the clubhouse.
You didn't go home?
No. You couldn't. You can't leave. I mean, if I'd have left, I'd have been sent to the minor leagues or something. But I remember the next day after that, he hit a home run in that game. Boom. Then he goes out and he gives it up. But they shot off the fireworks at like 2 in the morning. And I remember they interviewed a lady that lived near the ballpark, and she said, I thought Atlanta was being bombed. Because she woke out of a sleep, boom, boom, boom. But great game. Country sinker, threw a heavy ball. I mean, but for him and BP, he was a good BP hitter. Back then the pitchers used to
take BP.
They would be the first ones on the field, and they'd all take batting practice because obviously they had to hit. They'd put a couple of bunts down, and they'd do home run derby. And he was a good home run derby guy. But, to hit one in a game, of course the pitchers on the other team, they're just thinking, well, this guy can't hit. I'll just throw him a fastball. And so he hits one, and it was a great game.
I think one of the greatest, games to look back on and remember that time. I think is that that is one that I would always circle.
Well, you know, I was signing autographs the other day, and I saw some pictures and some people, and I'm like, I know I played the game, but it brought back memories of those things. That's why I think it's so important to go and visit guys like Levi when he's in the hospital and he's not doing good, because he was a part of Atlanta Braves.
Absolutely.
I mean, I was for 33 years. Then I went to the Royals for a while, but, you know, during that whole time, I always stayed in touch with Brian Snitker, because I coached with him in the minors, and we were like, you know.
Well, since you brought him up again, I'd like to ask you, you know, a lot of people, you know, talk about Brian Snitker. There may be fans that question decisions day to day, but just, I think he's one of the most consistent managers there is in the game. If you could just talk to me about your relationship.
He never is going to put a pitcher at risk. He may have a no-hitter going, but you know what? If you reach your pitch count and you're a young pitcher, we're not going to blow your arm out just so you get a chance to. You got 2 more innings and you're going to pitch a no-hitter. In the scheme of things, your career is better than that. I remember in Macon, we were fighting for a championship. We needed to win this game. And he told me that this one pitcher wasn't going to start, and I said, what are we doing? He needs to pitch. No, he's reached his pitch limit. He said, we can't take a chance on his arm, and that's what kind of guy he is. And I think the players respect that. They know that, okay, if umpire makes a call, he's going to go out there and challenge that, or if that team over there is going to be throwing at you, I'm going to stand up for you. And he's got the respect of the players, and that translates into they run through the wall for him. And that's the same thing with Bobby. Guys would run through the wall. We had some guys that came here, and they were supposed to be problem guys. J.D. Drew. Problem guy. No, he wasn't. Bobby strategically rested him, gave him days off, and he played phenomenal for us. Gary Sheffield, his head case, you know, you'd read in the paper, came here, wonderful guy. Played hard for Bobby, never had any problems because of that respect that they get for him. And Snit is just like that.
That's good. That's great to hear. well, Glenn, I don't want to take any more of your time. I want to thank you again for being here, and thank you for letting me interview you.
I had a great time.
Thank you again. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe on the way out. And once again, thank you to Glenn Hubbard.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.